Hello, Kindred Spirits, and welcome to my spiritual oasis. Here, weary souls come to find inner wisdom and peace. So today, we are going to be doing soulful messages that the intent for these messages is to start your week off on a really high note, to fill your cup up for the week so that you can give and live an abundant and peaceful life and joyous life throughout the week. This is like a soulful Sunday sort of thing to begin the week. However, these are meant to be timeless messages. So if you get this, if you find this video on a Tuesday, the intent is that the messages are meant to guide you for the next 5 to 7 days. So this week we are going to have messages guided by our fairy energy. We're going to be using tarot and other oracle decks as well as just intuition. I have nothing prepared. This is all intuitive, whatever messages that Spirit, Universe, God has for you for this week. There's going to be 3 groups available to you. The links will be in the description for you. At the end of what I would consider like the main reading for each group, there are going to be some soul truth cards that you can pick from. You can select a soul truth question to ponder, meditate on as you go through the next 5 to 7 days or your next week. So I think that's all I had to say for the introduction. So without further ado, if you need to pause the video here to meditate on which group you think has your message, you can do that now. If you're feeling drawn to multiple groups, you can, of course, tune into any of those groups that you feel like has a message for you. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just move into the first reading. Hello, group number 1, and welcome to your reading. So again, our messages are going to be guided by our fairy energy to start our conversation. So we had this card pop for you. Magical Gateway. It takes courage and trust to venture into the unknown. Yet this is where the greatest rewards are. It's time to step boldly forward without looking back. This idea of looking back is really interesting. It just kind of reminds me of the South Node in general. I think it's important to acknowledge that we all have pasts. And then in the same breath, I think it's important to acknowledge that our past does not define our present or our future. Often we dwell in the past instead of using it as like lessons. Like those are things that I did in the past or things that happened to me in the past. But that isn't my present. That doesn't have to be my future. And kind of, forgiving ourselves, forgiving whomever, whatever we need to forgive, and then taking those lessons, taking the lessons from those situations and moving forward, I feel like is very important for us to do. So I think this is a beautiful message to start our week or to move to contemplate on for the next 5 to 7 days. So we're going to add some tarot to our conversation. We have the 6 of Cups, Serenity and Healing. I think that makes a lot of sense. I feel like the message here for some of you is this idea of healing. And I feel like healing in the way of like self-healing, healing from your own like mental anguish and mental despair, just like beating yourself up for being human, making mistakes. Like we all make mistakes. Our mistakes are in the past now. Prayerfully, that's why we're here. And moving forward, like forgiving ourselves, like self-forgiveness is so, it's so powerful, because forgiving other people is great. I do feel honestly that does help us move past things. But I think sometimes we forget to forgive ourselves. How fitting. So we have our Six of Swords added to our conversation today. And key energy for our Six of Swords is this idea of moving on. And I feel like that is totally what we're talking about here. Healing, moving on, walking through the gateway. This idea of faith came up in our conversation about this magical gateway. Trust and faith and courage, I feel like it takes courage to move forward. It takes courage to get up when we fell down. I think about babies for a moment and how when they fall, they, sometimes they cried, earlier on they cry a lot, and they might be discouraged a little bit. But oftentimes, pretty much every time, they get back up with this like look of determination. Like, this isn't going to stop me, from getting to whatever I'm trying to get to. For the baby, it's usually, an outlet or something they shouldn't be doing. But this idea of just having this tenacious energy, and babies don't, they're just living their lives. They're just trying to figure it out. So just kind of incorporating more of that innocent sort of energy as we move forward into our lives, and that tenaciousness and just getting up and moving on and continuing on, moving forward. And then we have our King of Swords. So lots of sword energy, and I feel like in our sword energy, we have this like healing of our thoughts, healing of the messages that we say to ourselves. What are we saying to ourselves? What are we speaking into our own existence in our minds without, obviously speaking aloud? What are we saying to ourselves in our heads? What are we manifesting with our thoughts? I feel like is kind of the message with the sword energy today. Excuse me. And with our King of Swords is all about that articulation intelligence. So what I do see here is this idea of self-advocacy. And, yes, self-advocacy to the world abroad, but also self-advocacy to ourselves. Like speaking to ourselves what we actually want in our lives and not about what we don't want in our lives. I think it's important to acknowledge and admit when we see something, like being honest, like, okay, I'm afraid of this, and that. I feel like that honesty is some sort of energy in that as well. Being honest, but in order to heal, we have to not only acknowledge, but also replace those challenging thoughts, those self-deprecating thoughts with other types of thoughts, with positive thoughts, with uplifting thoughts. Like, I'm afraid of rejection. That's why maybe I don't speak my mind. Well, what's the solution to that? The solution to that is doing it anyway. And you might stumble and you might bumble. And the first time you do it, you might offend somebody. But as you keep going on, keep moving forward, it's really about developing that muscle. And I feel like children do it. Like, they're brutally honest. Sometimes they say stuff and you're just like, really? Oh, I keep forgetting that you haven't developed that politically correct sort of language. You're just vibing off of life right now and the tools that you have available. So I feel like just kind of taking more a youthful approach in general, this idea of trusting, this idea of courage, and just kind of moving into the unknown in many ways. And the unknown can be something as simple as just like self-advocacy. And how befitting. So we turned over bearberry here, which the keyword for this is strength. I feel like strength and courage, those messages are really similar, but the idea of strength to me is, not in like the physical sense, but mental. I feel like we're doing a lot of mental and emotional strength building, and also thinking of this as a muscle as well. So this idea of healing, this idea of the mental and emotional work that we're doing and that we're kind of focused on for the week or the next 5 to 7 days is it's going to take strength, because you are moving on something that is new to you. You know, this idea of healing is that and this idea of moving on, resolving, is that we're moving on to something that we might not know 100%. We're moving on into something unknown to us, into something that we might not necessarily know. So even like this gateway energy, you're moving through this door and we don't see what's on the other side of the door. I think the idea here is that, you know, it even says the unknown. The idea is that it's unknown to us, but we're coming from a place of healing, so it will be better for us. We are moving into something that is better for us, a positive move. And then we have Siberian fir. The key word here is acceptance. Oh my gosh, I feel like this really tags on to the forgiveness conversation that we started with today. And, you know, the trigger statement is we must remember, and the truth is, I am free of the habits that do not serve me. That is such a powerful message. I feel like when we think of memory, it's something that we cycle through over and over again. And when there is habitual energy in that. And I feel like with the Siberian fir, this idea of freedom of habits that aren't serving us, and it's not just like releasing them, but it's also about replacing those habits with other habits that are freeing habits. I feel like is the next step. It's the evolution of where we're going and where we're moving forward to. So the rest of this card reads, lay down the armor passed down to you from your family. Release habits that are not serving you and forgive on behalf of generations past. So I feel like there's a deep root work conversation here. This idea of family, this idea of legacy. You know, if you are harboring some discontentment or distaste with your family, this idea of healing is also applicable there. And that some of your own your mental anguish and some of the difficulty that you have, even like in your thoughts and stuff, might stem from these kind of deep-seated family ties and family almost like generational curses is what came to me. And this idea of releasing the habits that aren't serving you. You know, one of the things that I can think of right off the bat that my sister, myself, and my cousins, like we grew up together, we were really close. And one thing that we decided to do was not to physically chastise our children. And that was, you know, something just culturally that kind of was just passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. And we made the decision, like, you know what? That didn't serve us. It made us feel this type of way. We had, you know, self-identity issues and worth issues when it comes to that. So we let that go. We released that. And I'm sharing that to say, like, not to say, like, oh, my family is bad or my parents are bad, my grandparents are bad. You know, they did what they thought was best. You know, they worked with the information and the guidance that they had at the time, and we are their evolution. And I feel like, you know, carrying things on just to carry things on, I feel like this card gets you kind of thinking about that. Like, what things are not serving you that you should consider releasing? And again, that's going to take strength to do that, because a lot of this stuff is deep-rooted stuff. So because we have a family conversation going on here, I am going to pull some cards from our Hoodoo Tarot, see if your ancestors have any messages. I feel like they're calling out to us here with this card. So we're going to pull a couple of tarot cards from this deck. Unintended. This is all on the whim here. Okay, let's see what our ancestors have to say to us today. Dr. Grant, that's that hermit energy, that meditative energy, like going inside of yourself and figuring out. I feel like it's like part of that healing is like going inside of yourself and questioning these habits, especially around things that have been handed down to us. Are these things serving us? I think some of the things that we receive from our family is really beautiful, beautiful energy, beautiful messages of community, and just these deep, loving family ties and connectivity. I don't know about you, but oh my gosh, what? How did this happen? I was literally thinking about this. I was literally going to say, I don't know about you, but like around the holidays specifically, because that's just kind of like when everyone gets together. But, when I get together with my cousins and my sister, my aunts, uncles, mom, dad, family, like this Ten of Baskets energy is so perfect to represent exactly what I was feeling. It's just such beautiful energy. The laughing, the stories, I miss my family so much. Like, this is making me miss them. But, I feel like this message is also coming here, and this idea of healing is that everything isn't bad, Everything isn't bad. There's really beautiful, deep messages of community and love and connectivity, and abundance, that comes from family. And I feel like your ancestors are reminding you of that. Like, yes, there are hurtful things that we have to release and relieve ourselves of and move forward from and resolve, and that's going to take strength and that's going to take tenacity to do. But there also are these really beautiful things as well. And I feel like, oh my gosh, you know what, Spirit? Listen, you're coming out, okay? These messages are right on. This is exactly what I'm feeling. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yes. And then this idea of strength. I feel like your ancestors are also telling you that you have the strength. And then this message coming up twice, I feel like they're just reiterating, like, some of the things are difficult, challenging to go through, releasing things that are so rooted in us, like they're a part of who we are. It's almost like ripping off a part of ourselves, but that's what the healing process is all about. Being honest, articulating these things that are painful to us, being honest about that, and then moving forward from that and knowing that we have the strength not only in ourselves, but we also have the strength and the backing of our ancestors and our family members, and just that really like pure loving energy. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect. I love it when it all comes together. And then also to remember that strength is not, like I said, it's not like brute force. It's not about physical dominance or physical, strength and abilities physically. It's like strength through gentleness, strength through, it's almost like character. Like strength of character is really what came to me. And I feel like, there is a lot of strength of character. There's a lot of abundance and beauty, again, from that ancestral energy, from our history, from our past. Like, there's a lot of brokenness and a lot of pain, but there's also a lot of beautiful energy. And again, that strength and that courage is in this card, courage to move forward. And we just have to trust. Like, we have to trust and believe in the power and in the magic that we have and the connectivity that we have, not only to our past, but also to our future, and to the abundance that is awaiting us in the future as well. So these are the general messages that I had for you, group number 1. So we are going to move into our soul truth questions. So I am going to lay the cards up And you can select the one or ones. Probably, I feel like one of these cards a week for the next 5 to 7 days is solid. But if you're feeling drawn to a couple, go ahead and write those down too. These cards really do encourage a lot of like journaling energy. So because they really want you to like ponder and deep dive and really think intensely about these questions and these concepts. So let's see. I'm gonna lay out 3 of them to choose from. We had one pop out. Am I getting enough rest to restore my energy and fully show up to my life? This is so critical. Like you need sleep. Sleeping is healing. I feel like on the physical level as well, getting enough sleep is, our bodies heal during that time, physically, mentally, that time of rest. And you're not going to miss out on anything that's meant for you. So rest. Am I clear on what my soul really wants? Am I clear? That's really interesting, especially when we're talking about sword energy. We have a lot of sword energy. Clarity of mind, clarity of heart, clarity of soul. Am I focused on what I am losing or gaining? Focus is really interesting too. Again, especially since we're talking about a lot of sword energy as well. Like I feel like our King of Swords is kind of like this guiding energy as well. But this idea of a focus, what are we focusing on? Again, are we focusing on those positive things? Or are we focusing on the negative things? Are we focusing on the challenging things? Are we focusing on the things we don't have? Or are we focusing on the things that we do have? Are we focusing on what we want to see? And are we being grateful for what we already have? What has come to fruition as well? So a lot of really beautiful energy today for you, group number 1. I am excited for you. I am energized for you to take this message and move forward with it for the next 5 to 7 days or beyond. If something is kind of sitting with you as it perpetuates forward into your life, just kind of feel it out. So these are the messages that I have channeled for you today, group number 1. I certainly hope this was uplifting for you. I certainly hope this, helped to fill your cup up for this week, and you continue to fill your cup up going forward with these 3 soul truth cards to kind of contemplate and meditate on as well for the week forward. So thanks again for your time and your energy, and I will see you in an upcoming reading. Bye. Hello, group number 2, and welcome to your reading. So our energy is again going to be guided by our fairies today. So we're going to go ahead and give our fairy oracle deck a good shuffle and select our guiding card for you. What messages for group number 2 here? What messages do our fairies have for group number 2 to start our conversation? Motivation. When spring approaches, the flower fairies urge you to spring into action. If there's something you've been merely thinking about doing, they say get busy and do it. So this definitely is screaming fire energy to me. Styx energy or Wands energy. The decks to call them different things sometimes, but this idea of fire energy, this idea of moving forward, doing. Okay, so we are going to add some tarot cards to our conversation. Okay, we have our Ace of Swords. So new beginnings, breakthroughs, mental focus. Ooh, I feel like this is going to be really important, actually, this idea of motivation. Like some of you, I'm getting the message, might have been like really scattered mentally and not really knowing where to focus your energy. And I feel like, moving forward, this week, the next 5 to 7 days here, this idea of mental focus, breakthrough, even new ideas, new concepts, new things to focus on. Lots of sword energy. So you have our 8 of Swords here as well. Overcoming fears and self-entrapment. Wow, this is really powerful. That could be your blockage. Could be this, could be fear for some of you, I'm getting. And also like stay in your head too long. I feel like the fairy energy is like, okay, we've been in our heads long enough now. Let's go do something. Let's go get some, put some actions behind all of these thoughts. And I feel like I'm getting like the Libra energy, like this idea of just continuously waffling between ideas and fear and constantly weighing the pros and cons. And it's like, okay, eventually you have to decide whether you're moving forward with it or you're not moving forward with it. And I feel like that's kind of our general message overall. Ooh, and then we have the Emperor energy. Very, I would say, the major arcana in our conversation. So a really powerful focal message for you. This idea of wisdom and this idea of passion. I mean, our Emperor is also like, that Aries energy, that number 1, that fire energy, that go get 'em, leader, move forward, wait for what type of energy. So I feel like it's very connected to our conversations. Like, get out of your head and just start doing things. This with a passion, like doing things that you're passionate about as well. I feel like is the major message here. And this idea of wisdom is really important as well. Doing things wisely, obviously not just like going out and recklessly spending your energy on just anything, but being wise about it, but also taking action, I feel like is the huge message for you today, group number 2. I love it. I really love it when messages come balanced. So right after our Emperor energy, again, that very divine masculine energy, we have our Clover, which the keyword for this is nurture. So I feel like, again, this message of balance, like, yes, the conversation today is really focused on this idea of, taking action and doing things. Again, that very outwardly expressive masculine energy, divine masculine energy. And then in the same breath, we say, but you still need balance, We're not going to burn ourselves out. We're still going to get rest. We're still going to nurture ourselves. And I feel like, a really good start is where we are today, just filling up our week, filling up our cup for the week, the next 5 to 7 days, just really spiritually taking a moment to lean into, our spirituality and nurture ourselves. I feel like that's what we're doing here today. And I feel like the message going forward is, yes, put things into action. Don't just think about things. Free yourself mentally by taking action and doing things. I feel like your fear will be assuaged once you get going and get moving, especially if it's something you're passionate about. Especially if you're pushing forward and moving forward on something you're passionate about, something that is aligned with your life purpose. Your fears will dissipate once you start getting into it, is the message that I'm receiving for you. But this idea, as you continue to move forward on this and take action, our Clover is reminding us also to nurture. Make sure you're, every day, every week, whatever your routine is like, you're tapping into your spiritual energy, your spiritual side, and you're nurturing yourself. You're making sure you're eating and getting sleep and all that kind of stuff, and nurturing your relationships as well. Those relationships that really matter to you and the people in your life that really matter to you. And then we have petite grain as well. The key word here is independence. The triggering statement here is, I'm just like my mother or father. But the truth is, I am free to choose. This idea of being free to choose, I feel like that could be some of the fears, like making the mistakes that our parents have or that our insert relative or whomever here. But I feel like our petite grain here is really reminding us that we are individuals. And I say this a lot, that our spiritual journey and our life journey, period, is ours and ours alone. It doesn't belong to our family. It doesn't belong to our friends. It doesn't belong to our circumstances. It is ours, and we guide it, in combination with spirit, universe, God. We guide the life that we live. And I feel like this idea of independence, like breaking free of any limiting beliefs, any limiting bondages, and bonding in energy that is not serving us, to our family, or even like the mental thing, like even in ourselves, freeing ourselves of that, making the choice to be free of that. And so the rest of the card reads, you are ready to break free of the conditioning that has bound you, so that you may continue your journey of healing and growth. Yes, freedom. Just reminded me of that. That song just came. This idea of freedom. Yes, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, I feel like even being here today and having this conversation with me today, I'm feeling like for some of you is a step of independence. Searching for inspiration and answers and ways to nurture yourselves and take your life into your own hands. I feel like is really the message, and I feel like you're taking that first step here today. And then we have, with our Soul Truth card, number 1, so we're going to have a few of these, we have 3 of these laid out for you to choose the question that you kind of want to contemplate over during the week. So this card reads, am I focused on what I want most? Yeah, I feel like this is such befitting from our whole conversation. And the back of this card reads, one reason so few of us achieve what we truly want is that we never direct our focus. We have our Ace of Swords here. We never concentrate our power. Most people dabble their way through life, never deciding to master anything in particular. And that quote came from Tony Robbins, credited here. So today's soul action, or I would say the next 5 to 7 days, is what you focus on grows. Today, ask yourself. This week, ask yourself. For the next 5 to 7 days, ask yourself, is your life a reflection of your values, or do you need to make adjustments? Prioritize. The phrase that I really like is this idea that the life that we're living now is a manifestation of the decisions that we made 5 years ago. So I feel like the continuation of that statement is, where do you want to be in 5 years? Whatever that is, start taking action now, because we're talking about taking action in general and focusing our minds and getting our minds and our actions and bodies in alignment with each other. I feel like wherever you want to be in 5 years, taking the action now to get there is kind of our guiding energy. And that's what you should do. So if you're confused about, okay, you say take action, but take action on what? I feel like this card is kind of guiding you to prioritize, to give it some thought. Take a moment. Think about it. What do you want? What do you want 5 years from now? What do you want your life to look like 5 years from now? And move forward with that. So group number 2, your question is, or group B, I should say, what excuses am I making right now? What excuses? No more waiting. There will never be a good enough time. The time is now. If it's important enough to you, you will find a way. Today, make a decision and do it, even if you don't feel ready. even if you don't feel ready. I feel like I heard this somewhere. I could be making this up, but I feel like I heard this somewhere that you will never feel ready. And I feel like that's kind of like what I've been saying. Man, I love when the messages blend. I feel like that's what I've really been saying in this conversation in general. Like once you get started, once you get going, then it will feel right. Then it will you'll feel like, okay, yes, this is meant for me. You know, that sort of energy. So you will find a way. Yep. Today, make a decision and do it even if you don't feel ready. Listen to your heart. You will be led. That is so powerful. Oh my gosh. I feel like that ending message is really just to remind you that you're not in it alone. That you are not in it alone. Spirit, universe, God, your own intuition, the people surrounding you, your friends, your family, the people that love you. You're not in this alone. You have support. And then our final card that we're adding to the conversation today is what boundaries need to be created or strengthened within my relationships. Speaking of people that love us, are we holding solid boundaries there? Boundaries are not limitations. I feel like they are growth points in our relationships. Like sometimes people don't set boundaries because they feel like they're going to hurt someone's feelings or they're going to damage the relationship. Like they are not limitations. They're about like guiding people in the right direction. Like this is how you treat me. This is how you respect my time. This is how you XYZ, ABC, whatever your boundaries are. And it's really like a direction manual on how people should treat you and what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. So think about it that way and less about, hurting someone's feelings or something like that because, again, our conversations in general today is about filling our own cup and putting ourselves first in the priority of soul energy. Like we are responsible for our own souls and our own soul's energy. So this idea of filling our own cup so that we can overflow into those around us and those that we love and care about is really important. And setting boundaries is all about that because having no boundaries is like the surefire way to attract energy vampires or even like people who are just well-meaning to just run all over you or step over your boundaries because you don't have any. So setting boundaries is a really good, it's a good thing. It's a very positive energy. To create more healthy boundaries, we must first get in tune with our own needs, desires, and feelings. And I believe we are worthy of them. In your relationships, it's essential to know where they end and where you begin. I feel like this message also that if somebody has a problem with your boundaries, they should not be in your circle, period. The people that belong in your circle aren't going to have problems, respecting the boundaries that you lay out. Just keep that in mind. So today's soul action, this week's soul action. When we separate our energy from others, we gain clarity about what we really want. Then we stop doing things that no longer align with ourselves. If you are an empath, you can still be compassionate toward others without taking on their stuff. It is safe to trust that you are not here to fix anyone. I have everything I need within me now, and so do they. I am worthy of my needs, and I set boundaries based on what's best for me. I think that's a beautiful message. Someone definitely needed to hear that, and I feel like, some of you might be feeling like your energy has been depleted or drained, and that could have a lot to do with, not having boundaries in place and allowing people into places that they don't belong. And like I said, it could be totally well-meaning people. It doesn't have to be like, the troll at your job or whatever. Like it could be, you know, someone that you love, that you care about. And again, like, setting boundaries is healthful. Setting boundaries is healing, because again, like the card said, boundaries is all about tuning into our needs and our wants and our desires, and aligning, you know, and setting up our life to meet our needs as well, and to nurture our needs as well. And releasing the fear. So if you have any fear around boundary setting, release that. And, you know, maybe the boundaries is what we need to take action on for some of you today, this week, right now. But, you know, with our Ace of Swords, I feel like this idea of mental focus, this idea of a breakthrough might come in the form of like setting strong boundaries. And that might be very difficult for some of you. I'm getting here might be very difficult, challenging. But, you know, challenges are good. Challenges are good. And I feel like the challenge for the week in general for my group too is this idea of taking action on something. You know, I feel like these 3 cards are giving you good ideas, but if there's something else that's really pulling you, calling you to take action towards, then, you know, do that. But this idea of getting out of your head and getting moving, getting into action, taking actions in your life to develop the life that you want for the next, you know, that you want in the next 5 years. You know, where do I want to be? Doing some of that dreaming, doing some of that planning, that future planning, I think might really help some of you along the way. So these are the messages that I have channeled for you today, group number 2. I hope this was meaningful for you. I hope there's definitely a lot of energy messages and some, you know, tactile things that you can take forward to apply to your life for this next week, for the next 5 to 7 days. I appreciate your time and your energy today, and I will see you in an upcoming reading. Bye. Hello, group number 3, and welcome to your reading. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle our fairy oracle deck here to get, okay, well, we had that just pop right out, didn't we? So light is your guiding energy. The fairy queen of light comes to shed love and light onto your current situation, and to remind you that light can penetrate the darkness. The first messages that come to me with this card is this idea of hope, and I'm feeling it hard. Some of you are feeling kind of hopeless. Something happened to you recently that is making you feel hopeless. And I feel like, you know, the fairies are coming through and saying there is light at the end of the tunnel. That I'm also getting the message that in order to understand the light, in order to appreciate the light, that you must have the darkness. Like, you cannot explain light. You cannot explain abundance. You cannot explain beauty without its opposite. So I feel like this idea of hope and promise is going to be the focus of our message today. And that your current situation is not your forever situation. Your present is not your future. And to just hold on to that truth. This is not wishful thinking. This is truth. And also to understand that you have the power to get yourself out, to move forward, you know, to find peace, to find prosperity, to find the beauty in life, and to find abundance. Yeah, with our Two of Rings here, this idea of adaptability and fluctuation really tells me that some of you might be doing a balancing act. Things financially might be really tight for you, really tough. I'm getting for some of you working multiple jobs, like just kind of just struggling to make ends meet. And you're feeling, again, that hopelessness. I'm feeling hard. You know, just feeling like there's no end to it, like this is your forever. And I feel like what you're saying to yourself right now mentally needs to be the truth. And the truth is that this is not your forever. There is an end, and you have to speak those truths into reality. You have to speak that truth. And then the Five of Cups, I feel like, is reiterating that idea of dwelling on the negativity, dwelling on the darkness, instead of searching for the light. Searching. I feel like it could also be talking about avoidance, like this idea of avoidance, avoiding the reality of your situation. For example, the thing that came to mind for me, and maybe someone needs to hear this idea of, you know, like with the Two of Rings, this idea of like balancing worldly possessions, I feel like could be related to financially just not being responsible for somebody. Making poor decisions with money, buying things you shouldn't be buying, and ignoring the things that you should be focused on, and not having enough for the end of the month, you know? I feel like this idea of being honest with yourself, with the Five of Cups, being honest with yourself, not dwelling on it, not beating yourself up about it, but just acknowledging like, hey, I'm not the best with money. And then acknowledging that, I feel like moving forward, then it's like, okay, now that I've acknowledged that, now I can get help. You know, now I can figure it out, get some financial training, or, you know, learn how to do a budget and different things like that. Like, I feel like there's, you know, once you acknowledge where you're making the mistakes, then you can get help and move forward. For some of you, I just feel like it's just a rough time. Maybe you lost your job or a job. Maybe you're juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. And then for others of you, I feel like it's just like poor decision making and poor stewardship over what you do have. And again, this is not to like call you out or guilt you or whatever. This is simply just being honest. Like, be honest which one is you. And maybe it's difficult to tell, but, you know, I feel like just kind of taking in account, being self-aware is really going to help us move forward here. And then our Four of Wands energy. I feel like this energy is all leading to this idea of the Four of Wands, which is all about prosperity. It's all about harmony. To me, it's about balance as well, and balancing these different things. So I feel like this is kind of the current situation, the Five of Cups and the Two of Rings. I feel like our fairy energy is saying, don't dwell on this. This is the darkness, and understand that there is a light. And I feel like it's pointing to the light, which is the Four of Wands here, this idea of prosperity, this idea of harmony. I am getting with the Five of Cups, though, that there might be something that you need to address, like that idea of avoidance. Like, you might need to address some things in your situation, figure out if it is simply just, you know, the time that this place that you're living in is just a difficult time, or are there things that you could be doing better to maybe help you get out of the situation that you're in. I'm just getting the message that for a chunk of you, that you hold the key, not your circumstances, to getting out of this difficulty, or getting out of any difficulty. And again, we're not dwelling here. We're not sulking and dwelling in the past here. We're not dwelling in the darkness. We're searching for the light. And I feel like that is what our Four of Wands energy is all about. Ooh. Golden Poppy is joining the conversation here with the keyword dream. Oh my gosh, I feel like this is so important for some of you, especially like this idea of having a plan for the future in general, I feel like is the guiding message of our Golden Poppy. This idea of dreaming. For some of you, again, like that hopelessness, I feel like that hopelessness is there because you stopped dreaming. You stopped imagining what you want your life to be like. Dreams are powerful because dreams are to me, dreams are a combination of reality. I know you're like, what, dreams? Yeah, reality, because they take things that are happening in our conscious, our waking life, and it blends them with magic energy, with inner desires. It kind of just it's a mix and a blend of various different things. And that's why I feel like they're powerful, because I feel like it pulls out things in our conscious world and blends it with magic, with spirituality, with those deep desires, some of those things that, you know, we don't acknowledge, or maybe we just don't see in our waking life. And I feel like that is so powerful. So I'm also feeling like, we're going to get to it in a minute, actually. Getting to our dream, I'm feeling like we need to pull some cards here from our dream interpretation oracle. Was not planning to do this, but I'm feeling it. And our moon oracle too. So I am going to lay a couple of these dream cards out for you to choose from. That's meant to be how these are used. For you to kind of gravitate towards one that is speaking to you, depending on like the imagery or the keywords and stuff like that. So, okay, so these are the three that we're going to lay out. Buying. Oh, I feel like that might be relating to some people we were talking to. This idea of shoes. I'm feeling triggered right now because I love shoes. I love shoes. Okay. I'm trying to make a little bit of space here. These are kind of big cards. And then our third one. And I'll read some keywords as well to help you. Ooh, this idea of falling. Oh my gosh. Ooh, them dreams that have you falling. That, it ain't right. Okay. Appreciate your patience. Okay, so we're going to start with some keywords for buying or purchasing. You could think of exchanging, this idea of value, market, acquisition, and money. So if that's kind of calling to you, you can pause the video and kind of ponder on the imagery if you need to do that. Do some meditating. And then our shoes, again, feeling triggered. This idea of movement, the ability to do, vanity, practicality, and tools. And then our falling message keyword, defeat, immersion, enemy, obstacle, monster, victory. Very blend of messages. And then I'm going to take a card from our moon oracle because it might help a little bit. So I am getting just a couple of messages, and I'm just going to say what's coming to me. I feel like some of you are avoiding some deep emotional things and using physical things, whether that's with the buying energy or the shoes energy, to assuage that emotion, like feeling like that's going to fill the void or make you feel a certain, energy that you're looking for, but you're not looking for it in the right places is kind of the message that I'm getting. And I feel like this is a little bit geared towards, if the idea of money management problems is kind of your thing, or even like emotional coping, like using buying purchases for emotional coping, might be a challenge, or this message might kind of be talking to you. And like, I feel like the forward message to that is this idea of, you know, not avoiding, like stopping the avoidance behavior and finding out what's really triggering this, like getting down to the root of things. Prosperity lies ahead. So I feel like this is kind of connected to the falling card as well, and in general just connected to our whole message, and this idea of hopelessness. I'm feeling like, you know, with our new moon in Taurus energy, this idea of prosperity lying ahead. Also understanding for those of you who are like, I just like nice things. That just came to mind to me. You can like nice things. And I feel like having nice things is going to, like, I feel like that's connected to the prosperity message. But I also feel like now is not the time. Like, life in many cases, in many ways, is about timing. And when we get our timing right, things like really flow and move in a way that is beautiful for us. But if we're doing things out of that timing sequence, it can cause us some serious challenges. So I feel like the message here is like letting you know, again, like that hope message is that prosperity does lie ahead. This juggling, this struggle isn't going to last forever. Your current situation, it does not, it's not reflective of your future situations, if you will. So I feel like that's kind of our main message here with the new moon in Taurus. And we're going to add one more card to our conversation here before we get into our soul truth messages. So we have invigorating, which the keyword here is bliss. The trigger statement is, why am I here? The truth is, I make a difference. Again, that hopelessness and hopefulness. I feel like this is very much so connected. I feel like when we get into our darkness, like we question our own value. Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What's my intent? And I feel like the dream message connected to that is like this idea of dreaming, of exploring and discovering who you are, and what your life's purpose is, and getting in alignment with that. And I feel like that will, that will really connect with that truth statement. I make a difference, Again, once we're connected to our life's purpose and we're on that path, that destined path, that path that we, in combination with spirit, the universe, God, when we are in alignment with that direction, there is no question. We definitely make a difference, because we're making a difference, through the actions that we're taking in that forward motion. The rest of the card reads, you will have the motivation you need to express your light. Know that what you do today makes the world a better place. That's such a good reminder. I just feel like in general. Sometimes we get caught up in the hustle and the bustle and the day-to-day, and this idea of balancing our, responsibilities, and also, sleeping and stuff like that, eating and things. But I feel like the deeper message there is that sometimes we get lost in the darkness, right? Sometimes we get lost in the difficulty, or we get lost in just making it. And I feel like with the dream energy coming through, this idea of not just living day to day, moment to moment, breath to breath, but this idea of looking into the future, looking into yourself and figuring out what you really deep down want and need in your life, I feel like is very critical. And I feel like the idea, the message of hope, you know, this idea of harmony and prosperity, that's our future. That's what we're moving towards. And that's where our dreams are going to align us to. That message, that truth. And I feel like once you get into that stride, and I do feel like it's going to be a stride moment, I feel like once you hit that, you'll see the light. But you need to spend time in your dreams, dreaming, so like planning for the future, but also paying attention to your dreams, because I am getting the message that you know, the universe will be speaking to you, could have messages for you in your dreams. Writing your dreams down, starting a dream journal if you have not already, I think could be very beneficial to a lot of you. All right, so we're going to move into our soul truth questions. I'm going to be laying out 3 soul truth cards with questions in them. Any messages that come from them, I will definitely be sharing that. The idea is that you pick one of these questions to ponder on moving forward for the next 5 to 7 days. You know, journaling or, you know, meditating on these questions for the week is really the purpose and intent of this segment. Again, I feel like it should be a daily thing. We should be spending, you know, 10 minutes a day at the least, you know, with ourselves and just in a place of meditation, peace, and gratitude. And I feel like that really would help us as well. So I'm actually going to lay all the cards out, and then we're going to kind of go through them one by one. So we have, am I ready to let go of this buried shame? Ooh. Ooh. The feeling of shame is the lowest energy frequency there is. When you live in shame, you live in darkness. That's really our whole conversation today. What part of you is ready to stand in the light? Guiding message. Is there any shame from a past experience that is ready to be healed? I feel like this is very much so connected to our avoidance here. That you're avoiding something that is still manifesting in your life, just not consciously. It's kind of the message that I'm getting. Like, you're not in control of how it's manifesting. And maybe you don't even know why you're doing some of the things that you're doing, spending the money or mismanaging the money or whatever. But I feel like, again, that the deep dives inside of ourselves, I feel like needs to take place here. Heal the shame by giving it a name. Bring it to the light and let it be seen, heard, and healed. It's revival season. Replace the shame with your soul's truth. My soul's truth is, I feel like this is going to be a very deep, meaningful, if this message really hit for you, really digging into this for the next 5 to 7 days, I feel like it's going to bring you a lot of emotional and spiritual healing. It's going to start you on that journey. Definitely, like, really hard, man. Shame, I feel like, shame and self-forgiveness, I feel like, are so connected. And I feel like, man, self-forgiveness, advocating all day for self-forgiveness. We have to do that. That's how we move forward. Not just moving on, but moving forward. Not being stagnant, not feeling like we're just juggling the same things, the same messages every single day, hearing the same things. I feel like forgiving ourselves by acknowledging the reality of it, not avoiding it, but acknowledging it, but also not dwelling on it and moving past it, giving it a name so that it can be healed. Where am I called to use my voice right now? Where am I called to use my voice? You have a soul script that was written to be spoken. Your story matters, and it's time for you to share it with the world. Share your story with at least one person today. Be brave and speak your truth. Your voice will be the catalyst for healing in others. So I am getting here, if you are called to this card, that is a part of your healing process, is voicing your opinion. Some of you might be just in general not very vocal people, and I'm getting the message here that speaking your truth, that sharing your story is not only going to help others, it's not only going to heal others, but I feel like that is what you need for healing. Voicing your opinion, advocating for yourself, sharing, taking what's kind of inside, juggling around in there and pulling it out, pulling it forth. And I'm getting the message that, hard for those of you who are like just introverted people. And I'm also getting like earth sign energy as well. But pulling that out and tapping into that sword energy, that air energy, and voicing your opinion. So that could be with your voice, your actual voice. It could be in written format. It could be, through podcasting, video. It could be a lot of different mediums. So I would keep my mind open to the various different mediums that it could potentially be. But this idea of self-advocacy and speaking your truth and sharing your truth, sharing your story, I feel like is very important to really dig into for the next week. And then our last one here, where can I create more space? Let's find this one really interesting. Instead of filling yourself up with busy work and things to do, create more sacred space in your schedule, in your home, in your mind, your lungs, and in your heart. Take time to just be. Oh my gosh. I feel like this is so important. And I feel like that is the reason, like this is the whole purpose of why I created, this particular series, this Soul 7 series, is so that we can make sure that every single week we are spending time in our sacred space, that we are spending time meditating, that we are spending time filling our own cup and focusing on our own energy, so that we can then go forth and help other people. But I feel like this idea of, just re-energizing and regenerating ourselves every week is very important. The soul action for the week is do a clutter detox of your schedule, home, and innermost self. Make space. Clarity will come. So I do feel like the final message here on this one is this idea of making space. So if something is occupying your space or a space in your life, then something else cannot come in and be there and dwell there. So if your life is packed to the gills with things to do for other people, then there is no time for you. So I feel like this message here is like, make time for yourself, make time for you. That is valuable, that's important, and that will actually help you serve other people better. So these are the messages that I have channeled for you today, group number 3. We went deep. We did a whole bunch of stuff. I hope this was helpful. If it was, make sure to drop a comment and let me know what resonated. Click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as checking out my Facebook page and my Etsy shop, where I curate content to help you on your spiritual and life journey. So thank you so much again for your time and energy today, and I will see you in an upcoming reading. Bye.